Hey everybody, welcome to this free webinar about how society disconnects women and what to do about it. I'm so glad you were interested. I'm so glad you took time out of your day to meet your curiosity on this subject. I know it's slightly controversial. We're going to talk about some things that you may or may not agree with, and I want to hear from you. So for sure, make sure you let me know your comments, your suggestions, your stories. I would love to have this be an interactive event and to hear your comments and your suggestions and whatever's going on for you as we go through this, because it does have some discomfort in it. And that kind of is the point. I want to start challenging our beliefs, challenging how we think about things. So again, this webinar is called How Society Disconnects Women and What to Do About It. So the objectives here that we're going to discuss are how we become aware of the ways society disconnects women from our own bodies, from our hearts, from our dreams, and ultimately from our relationships. And we're going to look at the benefits of bringing awareness to all of these beliefs that we have, these things that we're told. What I like to use is the word conditioning, how we're raised in our society to believe the beliefs that we have and we act on them, but they may not necessarily be true or be working for us. So there is a way that we can rewire the brain so that we can actually reconnect with our bodies, reconnect with our heart, reconnect with our dreams, our sense of self, and ultimately have better, more fulfilling relationships. So these are the steps towards reconnecting. Now, the other thing I want to add here is that awareness, that word awareness, is really important. It means power to me. The more that age-old saying of knowledge is power, that also is awareness of yourself, awareness of your body, what's going on in your body. That is what leads to us having true power in the world as women. The other aspect of that is manipulation. So a lot of these beliefs have us believe in false power, which is ultimately, it's a strong word to use, manipulation, but that is the word of false power. So I like to think of it as transforming from a girl, from somebody who doesn't know any better, who doesn't really know herself very well, and she uses manipulation to get her way in the world. But there's always a price to pay, and we'll go through that, as opposed to having true, authentic power that shifts things in the world in a true and authentic way. So hopefully that makes sense so far. Again, let me know as we go if you have any questions or concerns or suggestions or stories. So a little bit about me first. Who am I? Why should you listen to me? Basically, I have a degree in pharmacy. I'm a pharmacist. I started out my career in the military, so I have a ton of leadership. I have a ton of experience in really going outside my comfort zone and being a leader. I was a pharmacy officer in the Canadian military for 7 years. And then I went on to, I really wanted to get to the root cause of the problem, the root cause of these chronic illnesses that are going on. So I got myself involved in functional medicine, which is a more integrative way of approaching the body and how it works and how the mind and the heart and the body are all connected. So I'm very interested in that. I'm very interested in the effects of stress on the body, the effects of PTSD and trauma, how that affects the body, how we develop, and just the real way that our bodies work on a physiological level. So that's my education. Then I went on to learn about coaching. I did my own coaching for myself. I've invested a lot of money in my own personal development, and I realized that I have a knack for it, and I have a service that I want to share. And I really do have a knack for looking at relationships, and whether it's your relationship to your body, to your heart, to other people, and what is the key thing, where is the disconnect happening? I do have a knack for seeing it and then bringing it up in a gentle way so that we can start to rewire the brain and have different types of connection. So that's me. Now I have this business that is all about service for you, for the client. I want to get you results. I want to get you to the place that you want to be with your relationship. So that's me. Again, any questions, let me know. All right, so the ways that society disconnects women. Society has a message for us women. And don't get me wrong, society has a message for men as well. I'm not at all hating on men. This is just very specific to what is going on for women and these beliefs that we kind of have ingrained and we take for granted as being true. And I just want to question those. So the first one is staying quiet. So it's very feminine to stay, it's perceived as a feminine quality to be quiet and gentle, soft-spoken, never yell, those types of things. We'll get into each one of them in detail. Don't rock the boat, don't cause trouble, don't stir the pot. We as women can be very good at stirring the pot, causing quote unquote drama. But that is another message that we're told. No, don't upset people. Playing broken. So that whole, we'll talk about the victim mentality and what it's like to be or pretend that we are broken. Starving yourself and staying small. So our society is obsessed with diets. It's obsessed with being thin. It's obsessed with being like the small petite woman that, I know for myself, I'm not a small woman, I'm tall. So I've struggled with that being a tall woman. I know it's everybody has their thing, right? But also growing up in a society where, I watched my mom diet, I watched my grandmother diet. Diets were a big thing of depriving yourself. Competing with other women. This is a huge one. So we're kind of taught to not trust other women and see them as threats, to see our resources are limited and other women threaten those resources. So learning to kind of reframe the sisterhood and our connections with other women. Waiting to be saved. So this is the whole romantic idea of fairy tales that a man comes in or a new job or whatever it is comes in and saves the day so that you can be happily ever after, this happily ever after idea. So that's one of the ideas. And then this is a big one, so I saved it for last, is withholding. Withholding love, withholding sex in order to get what you want. And that, again, it's a form of manipulation. And it can work in the short term. Don't get me wrong, it definitely does. There's a reason why we've been doing it. But in the long term, it isn't authentic. And it doesn't really get you true power because nobody really wins in the end. Okay, so the first one, staying quiet. Ways we stay quiet. So like I said, we have this pressure to have a soft voice, to not yell or be loud or interrupt. We also can fear the repercussions of speaking up. So either we'll be perceived as unladylike or as bossy or a bitch or whatever other nasty name there is for somebody who is assertive, and especially a woman who is assertive. And then the last one is using the silent treatment. So we'll talk about that one last. But first I want to talk about how if you're in a business meeting or there's some situation where you see something and you think, I should say something here. There's some kind of intuition that I'm feeling, or I'm having an emotion, I'm angry about this, I'm sad about this, I'm happy about this, and we hold back and we stay quiet. And it eats us up inside in the end. So if we don't actually speak our truth, say the thing that we need to say, get it out, and have somebody hear it, or at least respond to it, then it all gets backed up and clogged up inside of us and we get resentful. So saying the truth is really, really important. Fear of repercussions for speaking up. Now this is a big one. This is like the Me Too. This is, there's some real genuine fears going on about speaking up against, injustices of sexual assault or anything like that. Bullying is another example where we all do this bystander effect and sit back and don't say anything. And there are genuine consequences for speaking up in some cases. But again, learning to be powerful and tell the truth and see things as we see them and let other people know the impact that they're having on us is super, super empowering and authentic. And it feels good in our bodies. Think of what it feels like. Sometimes it's scary to tell the truth, but it also wakens you up inside, gets your heart racing maybe a little bit. It livens you up, and it's really, really, really important. The last one is using the silent treatment. We've all done this. I've done it. I've watched other women do it. I've had men do it to me as well. It's that word manipulation. So we're trying to change the behavior of somebody else by staying quiet, by not letting them know our impact, although they can feel us. They can feel that something is wrong, but us not saying anything holds power over that person. Usually it's temporarily, because eventually they'll either give up or they'll give in, and there's consequences down the road for that as well. So using the silent treatment is another way that we stay quiet. So the way to reconnect again is to speak your truth in real time and making that a practice. You're not always going to be able to do it, of course, and it's baby steps of little truths with people that you trust. Starting out with saying the truth, about how you feel, about your emotions, the sensations in your body, saying those things to people that will receive you fairly well, if not very well. And then building on that. And then, or for some people, saying the truth to a stranger is easier. So just working on telling the truth. Don't rock the boat. Another message from society. So ways we don't rock the boat. Being very accommodating of the needs of others, usually at the expense of our own needs. So being that, excuse me, that nurturer, putting other people first, taking care of others. That can be almost an addiction in and of itself, because then you get to fill this void inside of you. You feel needed. You feel that is the way of being loved. I know that this is something that I've definitely had to work through, is this excuse me, concept of being needed to be loved. So this is a way that we accommodate and don't rock the boat and put other people before us. Becoming a human doing instead of a human being. So that constant busyness. We're also addicted to being busy, so that we're run, go, go, go. Don't have to sit down and actually think or have our emotions catch up to us. So if we're always busy, then we don't have to be contemplating or thinking or reflecting on what's actually going on in our lives. So we can become very addicted to being busy. And I'm not saying that being busy is a bad thing. We just want to be conscious around where we're using being busy to escape and where we're using being busy to actually be productive and of service to the world. Playing a role. So this one is a pretty big deal. We definitely come into this world as daughters, as sisters, as people that have expectations put upon us. And so we can develop these masks of these roles that we play that are definitely a part of who we are, but they're not all of who we are. So we want to be able to be a mother, be a wife, be a friend, be a lover, be all of these things instead of just a role. And what I've found in relationships is often it's not the two people that are actually in a genuine, real-time connecting with each other. When that happens, it's very nourishing. It feels really good. But what ends up happening is the two people are playing their roles of husband and wife. And now these roles are interacting with each other. And you're not actually meeting on a real level. And that's what I see happen a lot. So these ideas of what a wife should be, these ideas of what a husband should be, these ideas of what a mother should be that we have, and we're trying to live up to these rules instead of actually being who we are, the wholeness of who we are. So the way to reconnect with this is to really strengthen and trust and follow your intuition. Your intuition is something that's really important and we need to reconnect with. So the way that I understand, because I like science, I'm a pharmacist, I have a chemistry background, I like to understand the physiology of the way that things work. And the way that I understand intuition is we're collecting all of this data from our environment. Our body is the sensory machine that's bringing in all of this data, the temperature and what's going on behind me, who's opening a door, who's coming in over here. But I'm focused on this webinar right now, so my attention is into my conscious brain is limited to what's going on in front of me, but that doesn't mean my body's not taking in a ton of information. So what the intuition does for me is it backs up from that filter, all of this information being filtered up into my consciousness, and it has access to all of that, the rest of that information that may not have made it up to my thinking brain. So when I can tap into my intuition, I can tap into my heart, I can tap into how my emotions are affecting my body, my sensations in my body, and how I have like a gut feeling about something, then I actually have access to more data. I have access to more than I would just, what my conscious mind is perceiving. So this is really important. And it's the feminine part of our brain. And we've really been told that, the masculine part of you only believe what you see and that type of thing is great too. It serves us well, but we want to incorporate the intuition, and then we have more of a full picture of what's going on. So our intuition will tell us when we're being authentic, when we're playing a role, when we're being our true selves, when we're just being a busy human doing instead of a human being, when we're accommodating. All of these things will be messages from our intuition. Playing broken. Okay, so this one is really interesting to me because when somebody pointed out to me that I do this as a woman, it was a major aha moment because I didn't even realize, I wasn't even conscious that I did it. So the idea of pretending to not know what you're doing in order to get attention from somebody or help, or basically it's another form of manipulation. It's not being authentic to who you are. If you're pretending that you don't know how to get your oil changed in your car, and you need somebody to help you do it, or whatever the task may be, but the intention behind it is actually that you want attention and connection with that person. It isn't that you actually need this thing done. So that's the difference. Like, it's always great to ask for help and to have people support you and do things for you. That's great. And we'll talk more about that later. It's really important. But this idea is pretending or acting like you don't know how to do it in order to actually get connection with that person. So there's this underlying manipulation going on. I didn't even realize that I was doing it. So like calling my boyfriend and asking him, can you get my oil changed in my car? I don't know how to do it. When really what I wanted was his attention, because I do know how to do that. So stuff like that. Profiting off of victimhood. This is a very controversial one because being a victim, especially as a woman in our society, there is some truth to it. Obviously, we are victimized in a lot of different ways, and bad things do happen, and assaults happen, and all of these violations do happen. So I'm not saying that being a victim is wrong. What I'm saying is just being aware of when you're using being a victim to gain something else. So again, not really taking responsibility for your experience, or after the fact, after the bad thing has happened, and you've acknowledged that you were a victim, and you've been properly angry, and you've been properly sad, and you've gone through all the emotions that are valid. With that, now Are you profiting off of continuing to stay in that state? Or are you empowering yourself to move forward, empowering yourself to see what was going on within you, and bringing more awareness, self-awareness to the situation? That's what I mean by profiting off of victimhood. Having leaky or non-existent boundaries with others. So boundaries are very important, and they really do indicate our self-esteem, our self-worth. If you're able to hold a solid boundary with someone, it means that you value yourself enough to set a consequence. So it doesn't mean you have to cut anybody out of your life or tell them what to do, or that people have to walk around eggshells around you. I think there's a common misconception about what boundaries are. But what it does mean is that you won't let your own boundaries, let your own sense of self be crossed, be violated over and over and over again, because you do have that inherent value and sense of wholeness and sense of self-esteem, that you will walk away from a situation that isn't serving you when you're not being treated the way that you have chosen that you want to be treated. So the way to reconnect here is to remember your basic goodness. You came onto this planet as an innocent human baby who was full of goodness, and you still are full of goodness, and you have inherent value and wholeness as who you are. So just reconnecting with that sense. Starving yourself and staying small. So again, we have this obsession with being thin, with being small, with being a little petite woman, with being in a container. And there's a few different reasons for this, I think, in my opinion. But what happens is we deprive ourselves constantly, and that can be a way to control a situation. So dieting can be a way to control. If you really were raised in an environment where you had no sense of control, your boundaries were often crossed, you want to control the situation that's going on. And you sometimes, for some people, for a lot of people actually, we've associated pleasure with pain. So experiencing good sensations in our body, experiencing happiness is also, it's like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so we avoid pleasure altogether because it's like, I don't even want to go there. I don't deserve this. I don't, if this happens, then, something bad will happen in response. There's all these ideas and beliefs that go around pleasure, around food, around having fun, around our sexual experiences. We really deprive ourselves and keep ourselves small and contained in this area. And one of the things is that there is this subconscious belief that if we let it all out, that we'll never stop eating, we'll never stop consuming. And so we just start to try to stay conformed and small. So in this way too, we just deny these big desires that we have, these big things that we want. You deny yourself the chocolate cake, you deny yourself the upgrade in the vehicle, you deny yourself the whatever it is, in order to keep control of your situation, and to feel like reinforce this story that you want to stay in control and small, and that if you let your desires out, if you let your appetite out, that you're going to consume everything. This actually isn't true. If you let your desire out, and I know this from experience, if you let yourself be in approval of having a big appetite for life, then you actually do get satiated quite quickly. If you let yourself have the piece of cake instead of beating yourself up for even wanting it, then you'll eat it until you're satiated, and then you'll leave it alone. But this idea of kind of coming back to it crumb by crumb by crumb, that's what causes us to eat the entire cake. So we have to reframe our ideas around having these like big expansive wants and desires and being in approval for this big appetite that we have for life, because that's what makes us feel alive. Competing with other women. So this is really important, and I think having a strong sisterhood and group of women is what's going to help you achieve the things that you want to in the world. But what we're taught to do, what the message we're told to do, is to compare ourselves to other women, to either put ourselves in this pecking order of I'm better than her, or I'm not as good as her, and establishing that right from one quick judgment of seeing another woman who's, maybe her dress is short, or maybe she just won an award, and we take ourselves and compare them to this other woman, sometimes knowing them, sometimes not. And it's not a fair comparison, because we're all so unique and we have such unique things to offer. And we can actually work together and pool our resources and all be these reigning queens together, that we can accomplish. I know it sounds so cheesy, but we can accomplish way more together than we can separately and fighting each other. Another common thing that happens is that we gossip for connection. So we go and we say, oh, did you hear this about so-and-so? And it can feel really like you're connecting with that person at the time. But again, these manipulative ways of kind of trying to hack into connection there's long-term consequences, right? Because now if you've gossiped with that person, likely now you have this belief that they will gossip about you behind your back as well. So we've all heard this. I don't want to shame you for gossiping with women. I've done it. I do it on occasion still. But I try to watch where I'm gossiping when I actually, again, want that underlying connection with the woman. And then to come at it from a place of not putting myself above or below another woman, but in a real way of relating and getting vulnerable. And seeing other women as a threat to our resources. So, being in competition with women for jobs, for men, for whatever it is that we're in competition, there is so much abundance in this world. There's just no point in competing. And there's somebody for everybody, and there's something for everybody, and there's more than enough to go around. This idea of scarcity is also very ingrained in our culture. And we can start to pool our resources and work together and be in connection with women. It's really, really important. So cultivating that sisterhood by backing other women. Waiting to be saved. This is that, like I mentioned at the beginning, that romantic ideal, that knight in shining armor. And it can be a literal man that comes in to save us, or it can be a new job, a new house. There's just that thing that's off in the distance that once I get that, I'll be happy. Once that comes to rescue me, I'll be happy. And it's just not true. Even if you do get that thing, you bring yourself with it. And if those core wounds aren't looked at and healed, then you're not going to feel better. It's just going to be the next thing after that and the next thing after that you're going to look for. So this thinking that a new man, a new house, a new job will bring you true happiness, it just, unfortunately, it isn't true. This is coming from this idea that the true power is outside of ourselves. The power is actually within us. The story I like to tell about this is, think of a newborn or a toddler. Think of a toddler in a crib who wants their blankie, and they feel so much safer when they have their blankie, and they won't sleep without it, and they feel these comfort feelings from this blankie. And so you get the baby the blankie, you give it to them, and they go to sleep. Well, it really isn't the blanket. That blanket is just fluff. if those senses of comfort, those sensations, those feelings of comfort are coming from within the child. So it's the same with us. We have this idea that all of these outside influences we're at the mercy of them. But when we actually engage with our true power, we're taking responsibility for the fact that our experiences are generated within us. So it is a big step to take responsibility for, and it can be difficult, and that's why it's nice to be supported by other women, by having a coach, by having a strong community. Letting other people in our lives dictate what happened to us. Again, this power, this idea that the power is outside of us. Not knowing what we want or what we desire. So I actually think that you do know exactly what you want. You do have an idea. We just need to get you there. We need to, if you're somebody, not everybody is at this point, but some people are, where they just don't know what they want. They're stuck. They're frozen. You ask them what they want, and they'll defer that choice to somebody else. This is not contributing to your own sense of responsibility and power. And I really want people to own and feel that zesty, awakening feeling of really wanting something and believing that you can have it. It's why we were put on this earth. It's what makes us feel alive. And so that's the first step, is figuring out exactly what it is that our intuition is telling us, that our heart is telling us that we want. And I just love Beyonce here. She says, "I don't have anything to prove to anyone. I only have to follow my heart and concentrate on what I say to the world. I run my world." So this is her taking responsibility for her power. Owning your power by knowing what you want. And the last one here is withholding love and sex. So this is very common for women to do. We've been brought up not having great access to being taught how to use our real power in the world. So we use these forms of manipulation to use love and sex as commerce, to barter with. So you know that if you take your attention off of a man, you take your approval off of a man, he goes into a tailspin because he just loves your approval, and you can get what you want if you turn it on and off. And we do this subconsciously. I'm not saying that we do this on purpose, but again, it's bringing awareness into, where am I trading my love? Where am I trading sex for getting something that I want down the road? Where am I having sex and checking out and not really enjoying myself in order to get him to do something for me later on? I mean, in the short term, you can get what you want. In the long term, you're not enjoying sex the way that you could. You're not loving the way that you can. Both of you are losing in the long run. So holding back and freezing people out, again, this is kind of similar to staying silent, staying quiet, freezing people out, using sex as commerce, controlling how much we receive, we're able to actually take in, and seeing our vulnerability, or letting people see or touch who we really are, seeing that as a weakness. And I mean that we've set these ways of protecting our vulnerability, protecting ourselves. All of those mechanisms are there for a reason. They're there, that they were set up when we were really little, when we were kids, and something hurt us, and it has to be healed. And then once we heal that thing, when we parent ourselves and we look into ourselves and see those things that need to be healed, we can actually see that vulnerability is the thing that connects us. And if you want to learn more about vulnerability, I suggest you look up Brene Brown. She has amazing talks, TED Talks, YouTube videos, everything on the power of vulnerability and the power of looking and addressing at your shame around your vulnerability. So the way to reconnect here is to learn to be generous with your love, generous with your approval, not using it as commerce, using it as an unconditional way to pour out all of this love and emotion that's inside of you, and be a beacon for the people around you, and make it really feel good then to be given to. So make it really feel good to, you ask something of somebody, something that you really want, make it feel really good to have, to receive it, to take it in, to accept it. The big example here is a compliment. So if somebody takes time out of their day, stops, looks at you, and gives you this very genuine compliment, what we often do as women is we can't receive it. So we say, oh, yeah, I just got this on sale at Winners and it's not a big deal. I looked better in it before when I was 10 pounds lighter. We have all these ways of not receiving the compliment, as opposed to taking it in and being like, thank you. That means a lot to me. If you went out of your way to say that to me, thank you. Now we have real connection between those two people that are going on. And that connection is super nourishing. So as a summary, we're growing from the manipulative girl, I like to say, not that there's anything wrong with being a girl. We're just at that immature stage where we don't have a lot of self-awareness. We're doing the best that we can, of course, but we want to be a truly powerful woman in the world, who speaks her truth, who trusts her intuition to guide her as a compass, who knows her value and can hold boundaries that not only serve her, but everyone around her. To have this big appetite for life, these big desires. She knows what she wants. She knows how to communicate what she wants to the people around her. So not only does she get what she wants, but it feels so good to give to her. So everybody wins out of her getting what she wants. She backs other women. She has a strong sisterhood of women that she goes to for comfort. She goes to as her soulmates, that she knows will never abandon her in a way that maybe a man can abandon her. There's just such a strong sisterhood of these like reigning queens together. And she really just knows her own power and her own sense of being able to get what she wants out of her own life by receiving love generously. So that to me is what a powerful woman is. And that's what I'm working hard to embody. And I've come a super long way from my girl mentality of staying quiet, of not rocking the boat, of pretending I have a broken wing to get connection, of starving myself and not nourishing myself with the connection that I need, of competing and comparing myself with other women, of waiting for that romantic savior to come in and sweep me off my feet and solve all my problems for me, and withholding my love, my approval, withholding sex in order to get what I want, when really what I really want is I want to pour out this love onto the world. I want to have good sex. I want to tell the truth and be authentically me. And this leads really well into our next steps. So this is the process that I want to help other women achieve as well. So to give you that ability to pinpoint exactly what you want from your relationships, exactly what you want from your body, from your sense of self, from the other people around you, in your love life, in your sex, all of it. Know exactly what you want. Because if you know exactly what you want, you can teach the other people around you how to give it to you. You can learn how to ask for it in this gracious way that makes it feel so good to give to you. And learn the skill of receiving the compliments, receiving amazing sensual sex, receiving the gifts, receiving all of it, bringing it in inside of you. And again, it feels so good for you to have it. You feel nourished by it, and the person giving it to you also feels nourished, and you actually have true connection with that person. This is exactly what my quest was for myself, and I've gotten there, and I have tools, and I have journal prompts. I have 4 beautiful modules that I've poured my love and my heart and soul into. The first one is reconnecting your body. The second one is reconnecting with yourself. The third is reconnecting with your dreams and purpose. And the fourth is reconnecting with your relationships. So they all build on each other. They're very intentional in that way. And you're able to really get all of these 3 things of what you want, how to ask for it, and how to receive it. And that really is my recipe for an extremely happy life. So if you want to learn more, if you want to get on a call with me, please visit my website. I will provide the link. And we can get on a call and we can see exactly how we can get there for you. That is my mission in life, is to get everybody at the point where they are receiving the abundance that life has to offer through their relationships. So I'm excited to hear from you. I really hope I do. And thank you for participating in this webinar. It's been really fun. I love to talk, and I love to listen even more. So please get in touch with me, and I will talk to you soon.